Coach, just real quick, heading into the season opener, obviously you guys have practiced for a few weeks now. What has stuck out to you about your squad in practice, and what are you kind of concerned about that needs to get improved going into the opener?
Well, there's a lot of things we need improvement on in probably most aspects of the game, but I think we've improved a lot from the first scrimmage we had October 9th to the one we had a week ago Saturday, in terms of our conditioning, in terms of offensive execution, in terms of defensive intensity and being better defensively. So I was pleased with that. We're still in the same boat in that we're 10 healthy bodies out there on scholarship with 3 guys still out. When you look at Rocket has actually started to practice now a little bit here in the course of the last week. And we're going to add to that a little bit more today in terms of his first day going up and down for the first time today in practice. So that'll be good. And then Tolu is, starting to do some stuff on the Ultra G, and we're hoping that he can start doing some running on the court today. But I would say he's still, we're going to be very conservative and not rush either one of them back into play until they're definitely ready to give it a full shot. And that means they need to have, a fair amount of practice time. And for Rocket, he's ahead right now because he's been out. It'll be 5 months tomorrow.
We'll go to Theo next. Theo, jump on in there.
Coach, North Alabama team with a winning record last year. They have one of the best tempos in college basketball. How do you prepare for that kind of opponent out of the gate?
Well, they have good perimeter returning. When you look at Blackman, he was their second leading scorer, very good player. They have 3 starters that can all shoot the ball from the perimeter and are good players. So we've got our work cut out. They have a lot of depth. They have a number of new kids we don't know a lot about because there are a couple of them are freshmen or junior college transfers. But we do know that they're well coached. They play extremely hard. And if you look at the end of their season last year, I'll give you an example. Their last game of the year, they lost to Liberty by 4 points. Liberty's the same team that beat us by 12 or 15 points the first game of the year for us. They beat Florida Gulf Coast. I mean, they had some good wins down the stretch. They won 3 of their last 4 games, I believe, against good teams in their conference. They beat, I want to say it was Lipscomb. So, they've got talent, and they've got some veteran guys in the backcourt, which always makes it tough, that can shoot the ball. And they'll press some, they'll pick you up full court on makes or on foul shot situations, try to run and jump a little bit. So they play very hard, pressure man-to-man defense. They'll get out and maybe run a little bit of 2-3 zone as well. And, they really shoot the ball. They keep the floor spread, a lot of ball screens to create help, and then are able to, hit shooters open for opportunities.
We'll go to Stephon next. Stephon, hop on in there.
Ben, with whether it be practices or just communicating with your players, what's it kind of been like maybe the past couple of days as you're kind of shifting from that off-season work to actually getting games and playing against people wearing different jerseys than you guys?
Well, our guys are excited. I mean, we talked about it. We had an inter-squad scrimmage on Saturday with SEC officials just so we can keep getting, some used to playing with officials, playing with guys that wear striped shirts rather than the coaches calling the fouls or the graduate assistants calling the fouls. So that was good, and I thought our guys looked good at times on Saturday, and we'll watch a little bit of that film today. But bottom line is that we've been building towards this moment, knowing that once you start games on Wednesday, they just never stop. Then it becomes you got a lot of preparation for each opponent that you're trying to put in. We play Wednesday, Saturday, then we're off to the Bahamas. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us and a lot of opportunity.
Just a reminder to utilize that raise your hand question or function if you have questions for Coach. We'll go to Andy Costa next. Andy, hop on in there.
Hey Ben, for first answer you had, you kind of mentioned that conditioning's been improved, but you also said there's some things that need improvement. What are some of the kind of things that you're looking at maybe this first month of the season that you'd like to improve on it as a team?
Just our philosophy defensively of being in helping each other. Continue to learn all the little things that we do. We play ball screens multiple ways. We got to get better, for example, at icing ball screens. That means forcing them to the sideline. And we didn't execute that very well in our last scrimmage against Arkansas Little Rock. We've got to get better at, running the floor to the corners in transition, getting the ball inside, getting more post touches. Playing against a lot of different things that we're going to see defensively. And we're spending a lot of time on zone offense right now because neither one of our scrimmages, with the exception of the second one, did we see a lot of zone. In that game, we probably saw 6-7 possessions of a 1-3-1 zone, which was good for us because we'll see some of that here coming up here in the next few weeks of the season.
We'll go to Tanner next. Tanner, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, obviously a couple men down here to start the season, so some role players going to have to step in that we may not be used to be seeing yet. Who are some of those guys that you've been looking at to kind of fill in that role here as we start non-conference season?
Well, in particular, our two freshmen, they're going to end up playing some important minutes for us here early in the season. That's Cameron Carter and Alden Applewhite. So those guys who have no Division I experience are going to be called upon to play some important minutes for us. And everybody else is in the rotation and they're playing. So, we're going to need everybody, all hands on deck, and to do a really good job playing good at both ends of the floor, playing good defense without fouling. That's why it's good to play with officials, so you get the opportunity to see, how they're calling the game. And so that was good for us here the last two Saturdays to have, officials that are Division I and SEC officials.
We'll go back to Theo.
Coach, last year UNA won 6 ASUN games in a row and then lost 7 straight. Which of those stretches proves more helpful ultimately when you evaluate them for this year?
Well, I thought the way they played down the stretch at the end of the year was key, because they beat some good teams going into the conference tournament. And, so I look at those and was very impressed with that. So, and then they have a lot returning from that team, especially in the backcourt, which is, critical. So, we're going to have to do a good job handling those guys, being able to defend them and be able to handle their pressure.
We'll go back to Andy. Andy, go ahead.
I'm curious, but before a season starts, do you create your own expectations as a team internally? Did you talk about expectations for a season or your goals for a season, or do you try to take it day by day?
No, we do that at the beginning of every year. What our goals are. Goals, of course, are to get to the NCAA tournament. And that's always number one. I think it's number one for every team in America. There's only 68 spots that are invited to, the end of the year, NCAA tournament, and we want to be one of those this year. So that's always our number one goal.
We'll go to Stefan to wrap it up. Stefan?
Yeah, just following up on the conditioning you were talking about earlier. When you're shorthanded, how important is that going to be to start the season? And along those lines, do you know who your starting five is going to be on Wednesday?
Yeah, I do. I'm not going to announce it to you guys, but I do know who it's going to be because I don't want to, show my hand to our opponent. But I definitely know who's starting, and you guys probably have a good idea, a number of them anyway. But we're excited about getting started. I know the players are. It gets old practicing each other every day without a lot of other bodies. This is what they play for. It's what we've worked hard all summer long in terms of the lifting, the conditioning. And conditioning is going to be very important because we're asking guys to play extra minutes, and the lack of depth is something that's going to be critical for us, being able to handle that. And you're going to see that we have a lot, some young freshmen that are going to play important roles for us here early in the season, especially as we are waiting for both Tolu and Rocket to get back into form where they can start to play in games.